Good morning to our viewers and listeners on this beautiful rainy Thursday morning right here in the capital, Windhoek. We are coming to you live from the Government Information Center and I'm your host, Grace Cavey. We'll be live streaming on our social media pages, Facebook at Government Information Center, GIC, and YouTube at Government Information Center, GIC 2. On our information sharing session today, we are discussing the formulation of government plans in 2026 and beyond, which is guided by the National Development Plan 6, which is the NDP 6. And this discussion is steered by Mr. Iben Nashande, the Executive Director from the National Planning Commission under the Office of the President. Mr. Nashande, good morning and welcome to the Government Information Center.
Very good morning and good morning to all the viewers.
Mm-hmm. Now, to start our discussion, the National Development Plan 6 has been launched in 2025 and now guides the government framework for the next 5 years, as we all know. Now, talk to us about the priorities set and where do we want Namibia to be in 2030?
Thank you very much. As we are all aware, we as a country or as a government, there's already a path that we want to follow, and that is really to see Namibia an industrialized and developed countries by 2030. And this is a vision that has already been laid out by the government so that it can chart the way in which development is going to take place. Now, to guide us to reach to 2030, there are steps that we must walk. And those steps, because 2030 at the time of population was very, very far.
Yes.
And surely you could not have foreseen what was going to be the hurdles on the way. And it's for that reason that the government then decided that we need to have development plans which are 5-yearly, which are sort of building blocks to make us to reach to 2030. And NDP 6 is just but one of the It's the 6th plan that the government have formulated in order to achieve the aspirations of 2030. Now, NDP 6 is really a culmination of a vision of the government to say, where is it that we want to see government? We know our president has very been particular about 7 priority areas that need to be implemented. And those are really the key, because if you look at the 4 pillars of the NDP 6, they encompass the aspiration of the 7 priority areas that we want to see. Among them is indeed youth empowerment, which is really driven by creative industries, which is really a new industry that we need to unlock because there's really a lot of potential in there. And therefore, we need really to invest in the potential or in the talent of our youth so that we can see how best we can do it. And also, when we are formulating NDP 6, NDP 6 is formulated by also hearing the plight of the people on the ground. So there's a lot of consultation that have really gone into the formulation of NDP 6. And therefore, and that is why even in the law, it is really emphasized that NDP 6 need to be formulated in consultation with the regional councils. And the regional councils are effectively the communities on the ground. And that is really what we have also done. We have understood the plight, we have understood the level of poverty that this country faces, and therefore the plans that are in NDP 6 are really meant to accommodate that. We will perhaps go into further details about that, but that is really how formulation is all about. It takes into account the aspiration of the 7 priority areas, it takes into account the need of the country, and it takes into account the vision that we have already set for ourselves, because that vision is, when we have set it, it cannot be undone along the way. Because we also, all of us want to be industrialized. The question is really the how part of it, and which sectors do we need to strengthen in order for us to see industrialized and developed Namibia by 2030. And we only have less than 4 or 5 years now to go, and therefore it really calls upon all of us really to work very hard in order to achieve that. Yes.
Mr. Nashande, as you are emphasizing, this plan carries a tremendous weight in ensuring inclusivity and economic growth. Now, how is the National Planning Commission ensuring that all ministries and public institutions align their annual plans and budgets with the National Development Plan 6 priorities, and that they successfully implement these plans?
The implementation of government programs is really distributed across different functional departments of the government. When we developed NDP 6, we also developed an implementation plan for it, which we call Implementation Monitoring and Evaluation Plan, which really sets out key priority projects that need to be implemented, and also sets out key outcomes. What is it that we want to see by the end of the plan, which is by year 2030? And we have, for example, in key industries like mining, we have already set key targets to say what do we want to see under, for example, green hydrogen. It's an infant industry that was developing, and we wanted to see its growth and also its contribution to employment. So the same goes if you go into tourism. We wanted to see a lot of digitalization. People can be able to access our tourist information wherever they are. They can book and then they come. And then we wanted to see numbers of tourists increased. So those are the targets that we have already set up.
Okay.
So now, when we integrate plans, what we want to say is that we cannot have different aspirations as a country. We have similar aspirations, and therefore that's why when ministries are developing their 5-year strategic plans, which they have already done last year, and then their yearly plans, they now need to take into account the targets that we have set in NDP 6. And these are sectoral, because at the end of the day, what we are going to do, we are now going to take our implementation plan, and then we go to sectors and then try to assess to what extent has the sector been able to implement the plans that, or the projects that are in NDP 6.
Yes.
So this is an ongoing journey. We also do not want only to start seeing implementation or even non-implementation at the end of NDP 6. And that's why we have regular engagement with ministry, especially with key projects. We want to see whether have this project started, and if they have not started, what are the hurdles and how can we help each other to make sure that they have started. Because we also know that at the time of planning is sort of you throw your net there and say, this is what I want to do. But along the way, there are certain externalities that come, and then they can detract you or derail you in the way in what you want to do. And we want to already address some of those challenges along the way. We don't want to hear we were not able to develop value chain agriculture that has been set because of, for example, the impact of the current geo-global politics. We want to be able to address all those and arrest all those challenges as they come. And therefore, it is really incumbent upon also each and every OMA to make sure that their plan is not just a cast in stone, but their plans is a response to what we as a country have already set for ourselves under NDP 6. And therefore, they take the NDP 6, they take the IMAP, what you call the Implementation, Monitoring and Implementation Plan, and then identify key activities that relate to them. And there are responsible institutions for each of these activities. And those are actually the foundation for the annual and strategic plan for all the OMAs. Regular engagement, like I've indicated, we cannot overemphasize that. We need to engage regularly with the ministries to enable, to also to understand to what extent have we done. If we have set a target that by year 1 we must see a growth in a certain sector, we want already to start seeing the result at the end of year 1. And that's what we have started to doing that, to request for key information from the OMAs to enable us to understand what is that they have done so far. Yeah.
Now, Mr. Nashandi, with the regular engagement with this different sectors, what mechanisms are being used to strengthen and ensure effective coordination across government during the implementation phase?
Yes.
Just the specific mechanism that are being used.
Yes, that has really been a challenge. You can talk, you can request for information, and then when the information comes, sometimes it talks different to what is on the ground. And it is really for that reason that as the National Planning Commission, one of our key activities that we are undertaking now is to develop a online dashboard. And this is really a tool that is going to help us to keep track of the progress in the implementation of the NDP6 projects. So with the dashboard, what we want to see once it is fully developed, we will then input all the information. I will give you a simplest example. One of the projects will be construction of a clinic at Okonjato. And we want now to see this year, year 1, we have undertaken to do, for example, a feasibility. And therefore, we want to track the progress of that feasibility in the dashboard. And if it's not done, it means that it is going to impact the next phase, which is going to be the actual construction. And while the feasibility is done, then we already alert the minister to say the feasibility is done. Can you now start the next phase, which is tendering, and then so that we do not delay the actual implementation and the actual delivery of the project to the people, because what all these projects are intended to do is to provide access of service to the people. So, and therefore, with the development of this dashboard, we want to really to remain in regular digital contact with the OMAs. And the input, the information that this dashboard will require, it will have to be input by the line ministry, because they are the ones that know at what stage, and we just want to see the bar as it moves. And if there is no movement in the bar, and then that is really where engagements will have to start. So this is really just one of the mechanisms, thanks to the digital era, that we are now able to communicate digitally across all the OMAs. But I think at the key of it, if nothing is done to enable the project to start, then that will just be the reporting will just be a reflection of what is on the ground. And we don't want to see that, because if we have planned to do a project, the expectation for everybody, by the time we publish that in the development programs, which is a capital project book, we want to see the line ministry or whoever is involved to already take action. Yes.
Can we say the dashboard is a tool for monitoring and evaluation of these plans?
That's very correct. And it is necessary, because without a comprehensive tool, you will not be able to see the track. And like I said, we want to avoid a situation whereby at the end of the reporting period, you start gathering information, and that information will only give you the status quo. But with the dashboard, we want to keep track of the progress as the time goes, to enable also us to intervene if necessary. If we see that a particular project there's definitely the bar is not moving, the bar is stagnant, then we want to engage the Minister of Information and Communication and say, but you have committed to erect towers in communities.
Yes.
How far are you? How many have you? Why is it that you have committed to do the 20? Now we are only seeing 3 of them erected. So that is really in a nutshell, what that dashboard will help us to do. But it will just be an indicator And then we will then have to act on the basis of that. We have already deployed our officials into sectors so that they keep close monitoring of the initiation or the starting or the implementation of each and every project that we have in the development budget book. Yes.
You've just given a good example of the towers being erected in different places. Now, how will the public know whether the NDP 6 is on track, and what transparency and reporting mechanism are in place?
Yeah, the NDP 6 responds to the needs of the people. And in that response, we are saying we are going to be bringing the services that you have so desired.
Yes.
And that's what we really put in the NDP 6. We are saying we are going to create so much job in the tourism sector. We are saying we are going to provide the water access by so much percentage. That's what we are saying. And therefore, if communities are not seeing certain projects coming to them, then that is a reflection that some of the projects are not being implemented. And we don't want the community to be the one to let the community be met by the services that have been committed. And we have then published, secondly, after we have developed NDP 6, then we come and then we publish for each year. We say, okay, these are the key projects that we are going to undertake. We even go to the extent of mentioning where these projects are going to be implemented. So if the communities are able to see that in year 1 or year 2, we are expecting to see a progress in a road to our village. They are also expecting to see a construction of classroom or clinic or the extension of a water pipe, as the case might be. And this is reflected in the development budget book, which is a capital projects book. And we want the community to be able to go to their regional councils and say, but this project was budgeted for. What has happened? So that we are also transparent and explain to the community to say, the reason why you are not seeing the physical project is because maybe this project is now in feasibility stage, and therefore the construction will only start in year 3, and that's why you are going to see the increase in the funding for that project in that particular year. So that's why we want really also the communities to take interest in the capital project book, be able to understand what is planned for our community for this particular year.
Yes.
And then that will also give them an engagement with their regional councillors, and with their regional governors, and be able to hold the government to account to say, but a certain ministry had indicated that they were going to set up a youth project in our region. We are not seeing it, but it's reflected in the development budget book and the funding, which means that once we have reflected in the budget book, it means that funding has been made available, and therefore people must start seeing the results.
The results.
Yeah, and there should be no excuse as to why we should not answer as to why that project is not coming, and if it has come, we must be able to deliver it to the community in the manner we have planned it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What role do citizens play, and how do you engage the public, ensure that they too play their role? You spoke about regional councils and so on. Please elaborate more on that.
Yes, the communities are key stakeholder, like I've indicated. We all what we are doing, provision of services, is to the people, and is to respond to their needs. And they are the one that must benefit from all that. If it's creation of employment, they are the one that must benefit. And I've indicated that key to planning is consultation. If you do not consult, it means that you are going to have to end up with a plan that is unresponsive to the needs of the people. And it is therefore crucial that as we are developing NDP 6, and also as we are evaluating it, we keep the nation informed. And part of our role is to make sure that when we develop progress reports on the implementation of development programs, we go back to the nation mid-term and be able to say, this is how far are we. Yeah, of course, some of the implementations might be halted or might be affected by external factors. We have really seen that the global political situation is affecting us negatively.
Yes.
And that already means that some resources that had been planned for the undertaking of some of the activities are now being diverted elsewhere. For example, we wanted to develop schools, we wanted to extend water pipes at a certain price, but because of the cost,
Yes.
maybe of fuel, because of what, we are no longer able to do it at that price. And therefore, it means that maybe one project need to be reduced so that we increase the funding so that we complete something. And that is what we normally do at midterm, to say which project is now progressing well and which one is stagnant. And then we are able to say, okay, let's deliver on what is progressing well.
Yes.
And that is really the role of, because planning does not end at the beginning. You need to review. And as you review, you then start reallocating your resources so that you deliver something. At the end of planning, people want to see tangible
Results,
things.
yes.
They want to see development. And the development, by definition, is having something that was not there. If you only bring about what was there, people don't see the difference.
Exactly.
Yeah, people we cannot be able to argue that you already have water and therefore you cannot get network. No, that's not development. They need to have both if the resources so require. And therefore the engagement of the community is really key at all the stages of planning and also during the review and then after the implementation. Because at the end of the day, when these services are rendered, they are the one that now will have to take care of some of them. Because if they don't, then it means that we must still reinvest, and we reinvest because of dilapidation or non-taking care. It means that some of the communities are not going to get a chance to get the same services. And that's why it is really important also for the community to note that development is for them. And when we say government is for the people, government is the people and the people are government, it's because there is no physical person called government.
Exactly.
Government is just an arrangement for us to work together as a country, arrange the resources, and distribute them to where it is most needed.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Viewers and listeners, we are discussing the formulation of government plans in 2026 and beyond with Mr. Ben Nashandi, the Executive Director from the National Planning Commission under the Office of the President. Thank you for staying tuned in. Now, back to our discussion, Mr. Nashandi. Sectors such as private, civil society and development partners are key to national development. How do you ensure that they too play their role?
Yes. When we take the needs of this country, we take them in totality, holistically. And then we formulate the plans. And then when we are formulating the plans, then that is then when we start distributing responsibilities. And then we say, this will be done by government, this one will be done by civil society, this one will be done by private sector. And then there's another element of development partners that comes in. So what we have really realized, if we unpack our National Development Plan 6, NDP 6, for example, when we did now the activities that need to be undertaken for the next years, 5 years, that was now starting last year, we then developed sort of a costing to say how much is it going to cost us and who is going to be undertaking this. We come to a figure of about 515 billion Namibian dollars if we are to undertake all these projects. But given the limitation in the fiscal and in the fiscus, it means that government budget the development budget for this year was below 7 billion. So it means that it leaves a gap in development. And that is really where the role of the private sector comes in. Because there are key investments that are invested under NDP6 in green hydrogen, in oil discoveries, and these are big industries that when the investment comes in, they are going to provide a lot of employment. They are also going to provide the services. Imagine now Namibia producing oil. And also other industries such as nuclear. We also want to see nuclear development happening in this country.
Yes.
But we are bringing these issues to the fore to enable the private sector and the international investors to see that there are opportunities in Namibia for them to come and do business. And that is really what we are saying. And with we do a lot of forums through the NIPBD, and that is really the role is really to entice the international community also, and also the private sector to say, come, there is an opportunity for you to do business in tourism. Namibia has got a good landscape, and therefore we want to attract another one so that we can increase our number of tourism, because when tourists arrive here, they need space. And therefore, we need also in sports, in creative industry, in all the 7 priority areas that the president has advocated for. So all this investment must come not only from government, but also from the private sector. And that's why the role of the private sector is really crucial. And it's already and they are not only doing it for NDP6, they have already been doing it. Because if you go into our major industry, go, for example, into fisheries.
Yes.
You go to Wafis Bay, massive factories. These are actually private sector. And that is really what we are saying, that private sector has got a big role to play in development. Yes. Government's role is really to facilitate and to make a conducive environment for private sector to do. Where we want to go is really only when there are market failures, when private sector is unable to participate. Otherwise, we don't want government to start crowding out private sector in some of the key profitable industry where they need to do. Government only comes in when nobody does.
Yes, yes.
And then we focus on social sectors, provision of schools, provision of hospital, defense and security. That is the role of government, and that's why you see a lot of money is channeled into those sectors. Is to allow the private sector to take part in the other productive and profitable sectors. That is really the understanding that need also to go out there. Because sometimes when we even see the allocation of our resources, we start asking, but why is defense and security getting so much? Why is so only getting so much? We are also inviting the private sector to come in so that they can participate as in other commercial projects, such as construction of roads. We want to see private sector money coming in, partnering with government in those sectors. Because in other social and the security sectors, that is the domain of the government. Yeah.
Okay. While you are there, you're talking of costing and the national budget and the private sector participation in the economic growth of the country. Let me put this question to you just so you elaborate more. How did National Planning Commission ensure that funding decisions truly reflect the NDP6 priorities?
Yes, funding is to address developmental gaps. Yeah, so, and that is really what we advocate. To say where there is a developmental gap, that was also identified when we are consulting in the development of NDP6. That is really what gave rise to a plan. And then we develop a project, and that project now requires to be funded. And then you aggregate all these projects. You start noting that, no, there is a road that is required from Hockfeld to Okonjatu, for example. There is a road that is required from Maruru to Omachete.
Yes.
And from Narulago to Epembe, and as the case might be. And then you start now allocating resources to address some of those projects. So you cannot just have funding that is duplicating what is already there, then we are not developing. And we are also not providing the service, because if you are giving me what I already have, whereas there's somebody who doesn't have it, the cries of the nation will just increase, because the other communities that do not have it will continue to air their concern to say we don't have ABCD. And that's why it is really important for us to note that when funding is made available, it's really to address those developmental gaps. And it's a journey. We will not be able to address all the gaps in one plan.
Yes.
You know, it's a journey. We take it at a time. But if you look at the overall where we were in 1990, there is a biggest shift in the amount of services that we have. And that is as a result of private sector and the government intervention. And that is ongoing. It's not going to stop with NDP 6. It's not going to stop with Vision 2030.
Yes.
It is going to continue, and we will also pass that developmental journey to the generation. But really just to emphasize that funding allocation must really respond to the developmental gap that we see.
Now that we have come to the end of our conversation, Mr. Nashandi, finally the NDP 6 is the last national development plan under the Vision 2030. What does this mean for Namibia's long-term future, and when will discussions begin on the next national vision beyond 2030?
Thank you. I have said that when we are planning, we are not planning to end at a point in time.
Yes.
We are just taking, it's like slots.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but it's important, it's really what we are now going to face by 2030. It's a major step for us to take stock as to, did we get what we aspired to get in 2030, for 2030? And that is key. And we are going to do that review so that we undertake a comprehensive review to say whether we have achieved what we have. And we know that we will not achieve all. Some of it has been impacted by other things. But at least we want to know how far are we. We have undertaken already a midterm review of Vision 2030. And a large part of it is what we have now put in NDP 6 to say, when we did a midterm budget review of NDP 6, of Vision 2030, we identified that we are still lagging in some of the key milestones that we wanted to achieve. And then we said, let's put those now as some of the game changers or key things that we must do under NDP 6, so that we accelerate, so that we development, with the aim to see by the time we reach Vision 2030 period, at least we have closed that gap.
Yes.
We might not have achieved it all, but the reality is that a milestone, we will have done already a milestone. And as a result of that, then we need also to think about, when Vision 2030 comes in 2030, we need to, we have already started mooting to say, as a National Planning Commission responsible for charting the course of national development, how are we going to have this country? Because Vision 2030 is a guide. That is what guided so far up to 2030. We need now to come, we have already started that discussion in government to say, beyond 2030, what will be the new vision? What are we going to be looking at?
Yes.
Yeah, and when that time comes, we of course, it's a consultation we will still have to undertake, and like I've indicated, the country will be engaged, and then we develop our next vision. But we cannot wait for Vision 2030 to end for us to start developing a new vision.
Exactly.
We have to. We are starting it already now. While we are in the last leg. NDP 6 is important for Vision 2030 because it's a last chance for NDP for Vision 26 gaps to be achieved. And we are committed that with what those gaps identified, we believe that we will then be able to have quite a number of milestones that will make Vision 2030 a reality.
Yes.
And this was a vision of our founding president, His Excellency Dr. Sam Nujoma, at the time. And I think as a country, we must really applaud the vision, the visionary leadership of our founding president to do that. And we look forward again to another vision, and under Her Excellency, Dr. Netumbo nDate, our president. And clearly, it will give a direction to this country as far as development is concerned. Yes.
Mr. Nashandi, thank you for having joined us on this fruitful discussion.
Thank you very much. And I also want to thank our viewers and also the Minister of MICT for enabling us to communicate with our citizens. Thank you.
You are welcome. Without diluting the words of Mr. Nashandi, the Executive Director in the National Planning Commission, this is where we come to the end of our discussion today.